these discussions in Congress and so forth. I mean, if there had not been a 9/11, perhaps everything would be different, and perhaps, maybe, is it not even remotely possible that you would just feel that the current administration was doing fine, everything was going well, and you don't need to run as president of the United States?
That's possible, yeah. That's a very plausible scenario. But you know, the attack, if it wasn't for 9/11, there were other attacks. There was the USS Cole. There was the Khobar Towers, Lebanon. There were the African embassies. If it was the Twin Towers in the Pentagon that day, I'm sure there were other plans afoot, and there have been other attacks since then too. Mombasa, Rabat, Istanbul, the second Khobar, Algiers. There's all kinds of attacks that have been perpetrated against American interests around the world, and they're going to continue. It's just that 9/11 was probably the worst thing that could ever happen, and again, our second Pearl Harbor, essentially a sneak attack that caught us unprepared.
I want to get your thoughts on this recent news item that we've been hearing about, these attacks that were supposed to be foiled in Germany, and this thought there may be a larger attack. I mean, it seems to me every year everyone gets all hyped up again, another possible second 9/11, and the Bin Laden tapes come out, and everyone's it's almost as predictable as Thanksgiving, really. And I'm beginning to wonder if this is good or bad for us.
Well, again, I think we're in the middle of a war. The end of it is, I don't know if there will be an end of it. I think this war began, essentially during the Crusades, and it continues. Some of the radical Islamists cannot stand the even thought of having one American soldier anywhere on the ground in the Middle East, anywhere. I think that Kuwaitis were darn glad to have us come in and liberate their country from Saddam Hussein's troops, because they were overrun in basically 1 or 2 days and lost everything. So I think when they need help, they're happy to see us. But the radicals, the ones that are so extreme, can't even stand the thought of having a non-Muslim in their country, even if they are helping to liberate, like Kuwait. But it's just so complex. It really is. The more I read, the more questions I have. I've studied a little bit of the Middle East. I'm not a scholar on the Middle East, but I've written a paper on Saudi Arabia, and the title of the paper was Saudi Arabia, Friend or Foe. And in my estimation, I think they are neither friend nor foe, but it's very, very complex. The Saudi Arabian government is riding a tiger, and the tiger is Wahhabi sect Islam, very extreme. And the Saudi royal family stays in power because of the support, their support of the Wahhabi sect, and vice versa. So it's just a very difficult situation. I think 15 of the hijackers on 9/11 were Saudi Arabians, and 15 of the 19. So it's very difficult. I have so many personal beliefs. I believe that the countries of the Middle East could solve the Palestinian problem if they wanted to. They could offer each Palestinian family so many hectares of land and even pay them. They could provide them with a salary. The Middle East is so wealthy with oil money that they could basically solve the Palestinian problem by getting them out of the refugee camps, providing them with land and an income, and putting an end to this. But I do believe, I personally believe, that Middle Eastern, the Islamic countries, want to keep the Palestinians in a despicable situation and use the Palestinians as leverage or a thorn in the side of this intense hatred that goes on, and it's both sides.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah, Israel is not the innocent party in all this.
No,
definitely
not. Are you particularly concerned, as an American citizen? Are you going to be keeping a wary eye on the news on Tuesday morning?
I certainly am. I think we all kind of sit on pins and needles every September 11th, because being an anniversary date, the Al Qaeda picked that date for reason. They usually do. They want some significance. But yes, they probably want to stop it. And that's what we've all been afraid of, is how it's going to stop 911. And our security analysts, our United States security analysts, that the detonation of an atomic weapon in this country, in the United States, is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's very, it's very scary for every American, because possibility, it's very plausible that this can happen. And I ask myself, how can we as Americans prevent this from happening? I believe that the Islamic world is doing minimal, very little for any terrorist activity. The Muslim governments, Muslim country governments, are doing some things, but maybe superficial, to monitor and to interdict and arrest terrorists when they find them. But the countries as a whole, the individual Muslim man and woman in the Middle East, is waiting gleefully for another attack. You can still buy memorial pictures of the 19 hijackers, 911, in many stores throughout the Middle East, throughout the Muslim world, and they probably put these on their family living room walls, praising the 19 terrorists. You can buy pictures and sweatshirts of Osama bin Laden, and they praise him. He's a man that has stood up against the West, against the United States, and dealt us deadly blows. So the Muslim people, the average person, I believe, is anxiously waiting for another major attack. And what upsets me is, what we do to, what would they lose? What are they losing in another attack? They're losing nothing. So what would be a significant blow to Muslim people in the Islamic world? Now, recently, presidential candidate Tom Tancredo said that he believes that if there was ever an atomic weapon detonated in this country by Islamic terrorists, he would follow it with 2 atomic attacks on 2 significant Islamic cities, and that would be Mecca and Medina. So I think that if the average Muslim civilian in the Middle East understood that, oh my gosh, if terrorists do what they're planning on doing, we're going to lose Mecca and Medina. We need to stop this. That was horrible. That was horrible to lose those 2 religious cities. Is that what it's going to take to get the Middle Eastern Muslim people to actually stand up and say, we need to stop this, and we need to stop it now? We know who some of these terrorists are. We need to have them arrested. We need to stop it. They aren't doing that. They just are not doing that. And I really don't know of any other thing other than Tom Tancredo's suggestion to, if you attack us, we're going to wipe out those cities. I think personally that is not such a bad threat. That's how we threaten Russia. If you ever attack us, we have 1,000 missiles pointed at Soviet cities, and you will have such a devastating return attack that you won't want to do this. I did mention that suggestion to a Lebanese friend of mine who's a Lebanese Christian who moved to this country several years ago, and I said, what do you think about a threat, a counter threat to the Muslim world, that we would destroy Mecca and Medina if they ever detonated an atomic weapon in this country? And he said they would just build another one. That if we destroyed Mecca, they would just build another Mecca, bigger and better. And that's from a Lebanese Christian who grew up with Muslim friends and knows very well by heart the situation in the Middle East. So I don't know. I would like to hear some feedback on that. What the Muslims think. Would they feel that the destruction of Mecca and Medina would be horrible to them as individuals? Would that thwart the terrorists' desire to explode an atomic weapon in our country? That's the question I have out. I haven't gotten an answer from any Muslims yet. I know that they would be very upset